Light flex, but I've read over 60 personal finance books end to end, and there are very few books that explain money and wealth as simply and as memorably as Your Money by Carl Richards. Actually, the full title is Your Money, Reimagining Wealth in 101 Simple Sketches. I was lucky enough to meet the author Carl Richards, and I even have a signed copy. Today, without giving away the entire book of 101 sketches, I'm gonna share 11 of the sketches from the book that I think represent a solid blueprint to a rich life. And if you stick around until the end of the video, I'm gonna show you actually the 102nd sketch of the book, because when the author Carl Richards signed my book, he also drew a little sketch. For those new here, hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lissa. I'm a personal finance expert and a certified financial planner. My goal is to help more of you build wealth, build abundance, and confidence with your money. Make sure you subscribe if that's your vibe. Oh my God, I didn't even realize that was gonna rhyme. Make sure you subscribe if that's your vibe. Let's go right to that first sketch, which is sketch number 26 in the book, and it's called 3 Questions. So this sketch boils money down to 3 simple questions. Where are you today? Where do you want to go? And of course, what all of us do as financial planners is how do you get there? So each sketch has a little blurb, a little story, some added context. For this particular one, the blurb in this section basically pairs a quality with each of these questions. Honesty, which is how can you be real about your current starting point, your baseline, where are you at right now? Imagination, which is about future you. What is the future that you actually want? Where do you want to go? What do you want to work towards? And then action. Action is obviously how do you get there? What are the steps that you're going to take? So I love this because it is such a simple way to explain what we're doing when we're trying to improve our financial journeys. Most people who are like, all right, I need to learn money. I need to learn finance. I never learned it before. I want to build wealth. I want to invest. I want more money. I want a better lifestyle. I think most people's financial journeys, whether you know it or not, are simply tied to the fact that you want something better than where you are right now. Now, another reason I like this sketch is because there's nothing about it that says you have to be going through a crisis right now. What I have found as a financial coach is that most people have a very difficult time changing their financial lives and changing the way they think about money until something unfortunate happens, like some crisis in their lives, getting laid off, losing a bunch of money, being in spiraling debt, family and medical circumstances, etc. I want all of you to be more proactive about improving your financial life. If you want a better quality of life and you know that money can get you there, these 3 questions are the very questions that you want to ask, because once you have clarity on them, it's going to help you take action. Let's move on to sketch number 2, which is number 34 in the book. It is called Cash Flow Love. So this sketch shows your financial goals resting on top of your cash flow. Cash flow, quick reminder, is your money in versus your money out. What this is basically saying is that your money in versus money out is the foundation for every other goal that you care about. So yes, this has to do with budgeting, and it actually refers to it in the little blurb. The very first line is, I've always hated traditional budgeting. The word makes me cringe. Budgeting, or the word budget, because they associate it with restriction. So a different way to think about your money and the limited resources that you have is not a restriction, but in managing your cash flow. When you know what your cash flow looks like, what money comes in and what money goes out, you can make decisions and adjustments with how you actually want to divvy up that money moving forward. Is it accelerating your path towards getting out of debt? Is it making your first investment and recurring investments every month? Think of it in terms of when you know where your money is going, it's gonna directly support those goals that you want. And that is an engine for becoming rich and wealthy. All right, number 3, I really like this one because I've been talking about it on my Instagram. I actually just made a new Instagram, so if you're not following me yet, make sure you go ahead and follow me there if you want some of my shorter form content. But sketch number 3 on this list is number 32 in the book. Yeah, I'm not going in order. I'm gonna jump around the book. So sketch number 32 is called micro actions. Micro actions are small, tiny steps, little tiny day-to-day decisions that typically have little friction. There's really no excuse to not do them. In fact, you should be motivated to do them because they're very easy and simple to do. But the idea is that when you take a micro action, it actually leads to another small action and another, until finally you are tackling those bigger actions and to-dos that you've been putting off because they're way too big to manage. If you take a micro action, it's gonna send you on this like twisty, windy path to a positive outcome. And then that positive outcome is gonna lead you to maybe another twisting path. Maybe you go backwards at some points, but eventually it's gonna lead you to another positive outcome, even if you don't see it with that very tiny micro action. There are tons of micro actions you can do with your money. One that I talked about on Instagram recently is create a financial folder. It can be your to-do folder. The micro action is just create the folder. If it's a digital folder, create it on your desktop, on your computer. If it's a physical folder, buy one and designate that as your financial folder. That's it. Now you have a place to throw bills, tax documents, things as they come in. It's all in one place. It doesn't get lost, but you don't have to organize those papers right now. The micro action is just create the folder. Other micro actions can be your savings rate. Some people think that they're never going to be able to save because they don't have an extra $100 in their budget. So find an extra $25, right? It could be $50, it could be $5. Start with that micro action because it's going to build the habit of saving. In the future, it's gonna feel so natural that when you make more money, you're gonna turn that $5 savings into $500 a month savings. You will become rich and wealthy if you can find what are those tiny steps, those tiny quick wins that you can repeat over and over again, create habits, and then those habits eventually compound into these positive outcomes and results. Moving on, number 4 on the list, sketch number 71, and it is called Incremental Change. This sketch nails what building wealth feels like. It's like you're doing all the things. You're making all your payments, you're making money at your job, you're saving, you're investing, you're learning, you're subscribing to my YouTube channel, which by the way, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe. We're gonna keep learning about money and how to build abundance. Back to the regularly scheduled programming. What this sketch shows is that in the short term, it feels like nothing is happening. Sometimes it feels like you're even going backwards and going down a step. But what this shows is that that's normal. My bookmark fell out. Seeing progress with your money, even in your career, even if you have health and fitness goals, seeing progress often doesn't show up immediately. It actually feels like it lags, and it's hard to see until you are looking at it big picture at long-term progress. So the sketch says it didn't feel like much at the time, but this was massive improvement. So this applies to paying off debt, saving money, investing, even your income and career. You might be making the same salary for a few years in a row, not realizing that the skills you're learning at that job are compounding. That next job you apply for, that next promotion you get, hopefully it's not just a few percentage of a raise. It's like a 20-30% jump or maybe double your income. You often won't feel day to day that your finances are thriving. I'm doing all the right things and everything's great. And on top of that, there will be setbacks. Nobody likes to jinx things, but unexpected things happen to everyone. Car repairs, family emergencies, medical issues. We have to expect those, do what we can with emergency funds and other ways of managing those emergencies, but know that we're still moving forward and making progress on a day-to-day basis. Number 5, sketch number 44, buy and hope. This one is related directly to investing and it's pretty self-explanatory. It says, when you buy and hope, this colored part in the middle, this is not an investment strategy. You can't just buy something and then hope, pray to God that it goes up. Most of us on a day-to-day basis aren't financial analysts. We're not doing deep research, fundamental research, or technical research to understand which investments are going to do better than others, and that's okay. But there are still other ways to make smart strategic decisions according to whatever your goals are. Now, here's the small nuance. I agree that buy and hope is not a strategy, but If you are brand new and investing was never normalized for you in your childhood, in your background, in your family, you never learned it in school, I do think it's okay to start investing without knowing everything. So in that sense, your first step, like putting money in the market for the first time, buying your first stocks or buying whatever, in a sense, that might feel a little bit like, all right, I'm gonna buy this and just hope it goes up and doesn't go down so I don't feel like a failure the first time I try. So that's the little nuance that I'm okay with, because I think just starting matters. Going back to one of the earlier sketches earlier when we were talking about building the habit, repetition, getting those reps in will help you in the long run. But then at some point in your investing journey, in your journey of building wealth, you're gonna have to graduate. You can't just stay with buying and hoping. You have to have a plan. Like a lot of people invest in broad diversified funds. They do automatic contributions. They'll rebalance their own portfolios from time to time. Or you can also lean on professionals. There are robo-advisors. There are so many other ways that you can grow your money that are not just based on, oh, I heard this from somebody, from a friend, and I'm gonna invest in it and hope it goes up. So number 6 on my list in this video is sketch number 53 in the book, and it's called the overnight test. So this nails a pretty big truth about life as well as investing, which is when we suffer a loss, the pain feels so tremendous compared to the pleasure we receive from gain, from the good things happening. Even when we feel good about the good things happening in life, when bad things happen, it's like the worst ever. Now, this is another blurb and story about investing, which is essentially about a concept called loss aversion. So loss aversion is when the pain of losing something feels stronger than the pleasure of winning. And when it comes to investing, this concept can keep us stuck from never investing or staying in bad investments that aren't doing so hot. Here's what the blurb says. It basically gives you an example. Let's say that your brother-in-law or somebody you know pitched you a stock. They pitched you this investment, you bought that investment, and it dropped, and like a cool, calm, collected investor, maybe you're just leaving it in, waiting for it to improve. But let's say this particular investment, it doesn't even fit with your overall investing strategy. And on top of that, it's gone down and it's been a while now and there's no signs of it recovering. So you go to bed tonight, somebody sells that investment and it leaves you with the cash. When you wake up, this happened overnight without you knowing, but when you wake up, you have a choice. You now have cash where you can technically buy that same stock or same investment back, or you can take the cash and put it into a portfolio that actually aligns with your longer term goals. So that's the test. If you wouldn't buy that stock or investment today with brand new cash, that's a signal to you that you have to stop anchoring to the past and you have to redirect that money to your actual plan. So this is also related to sunk costs, right? This is basically freeing up money from a sunk cost. And yeah, you can take an L, but at least long term, you can make it work for you and bounce back. As you build your wealth, things like this are gonna happen. You have to learn to take L's, but if you stick to a solid plan and you're consistent, one L is not going to derail your entire financial life. Number 7, sketch number 20 in the book. It's called Enough is Enough. It's a bunch of little circles, little dots, and it says, is this enough? How about this? This? And the first line of the blurb on this page says, we don't know when to stop. I think this is a very important observation when it comes to building wealth because most of us want more. We know that more can potentially buy us a better life, better quality of life, more security, more comfort, more experiences, more access, more options. Now, this little blurb also mentions a concept called diminishing marginal utility. After a certain point, every extra dollar you have that you get might make you happier, but it adds less happiness. At some point, adding more and more and more to your bucket eventually stops making you feel better. So let's be real. Let's give it some context. Prices have jumped so much. Inflation has been really crazy in recent years, and for decades, wages haven't kept up. So I'm not gonna BS. For most people, more money, having more, would genuinely help cover more basics, reduce more stress, and create a better quality of life. I think both of these truths can exist. Number one, more income can be necessary for stability and security. Two, also, beyond a point, chasing more can become this treadmill where it never stops and you're just going and going and going. And at some point, you don't even know what you're going for anymore. So what I want you to hold on to in your journey of building wealth is the practice of defining your enough. Get specific. What does enough look like and feel like? How will you know when you have enough and you feel content and happy? Now here's the thing, that can change. You can get enough and be happy and content and then want a little bit more. The problem is if you don't stop to think about this, you're never going to feel happy because you're never going to understand what enough looks like. The key differentiator is intentionality. Moving on to number 8 on the list, sketch number 39, happiness alignment. It's your values and your use of money and a curve for your happiness. If you're spending your money against your values, you are going to be happier. So the first thing you want to do is get clear on your values. What is the why behind your money? We're not talking about material things like actual stuff, but the principles. Do you value financial security, feeling secure? Do you value experiences, having control of your time, comfort? I know for me, I love avoiding lines. So if I could pay for VIP concert tickets or if I could afford a higher cabin on a plane, I will do that. So think about what you value and spend in alignment with that. And that is going to help reduce waste in the long run, which is very key in becoming rich and wealthy. Number 9, we have 3 more to go and the bonus sketch that I'll show you that the author drew in my book. But real quick, if you are enjoying this video, please hit me with a like and let me know in the comments which of these sketches is your favorite. I'd love to know. I'm a very visual learner, so I'm enjoying this book. Number 9, which is sketch number 13, your comparison set. Basically, this is my stuff and this is everyone else's stuff. This is what envy feels like. So if you are always feeling like everyone else has more than you, then this is obviously because you're comparing. So let's dial it back, big picture. It's very easy to feel envious when everything is so in our face. Social media, advertisements, friends and family, everything around us. We get messages every day that are in our face that make us reflect on our own situation. So what I like about the blurb on this sketch is it says, carefully cultivate your comparison set. So rather than just assuming that all of us, every single one of us, compares ourselves to other people and we all want more, this is more of just a reminder of what envy can do to you, bringing in awareness to it. And when you realize that as human beings, we're gonna do that. We're gonna compare. It's in our nature. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's obvious. But what you want to do is be aware so that you can cultivate your comparison set. Like, don't compare yourself to a social media influencer who has like 10 Louis Vuitton bags, because 1, is that something you even want? And if so, 2, you don't know their financial situation. Are they getting those bags for free? Are they real or fake? And if they are real, maybe they can afford it, but maybe they can't. Sometimes you don't know what's going on under the hood in other people's lives. So when all we have is surface level signals and we are making these assumptions, it can hurt us. So build that awareness and make sure you keep an eye on that envy creep. Number 10 on my list is number 67 in the book, The Price of Silence. It's the cycle where you try talking about money and then you try again and then you try again. What this represents is that talking about money isn't easy. In fact, it's hard for most people. So this sketch is a simple reminder that if you try talking about money once and it doesn't work out, just try again and again and again. Now, the little blurb specifically points out talking about money with your spouse or your partner, which I agree is very, very important. If you're gonna get into a long-term relationship, especially a contracted one, like a marriage, I don't know why I said it like that, but it's important to be kind to yourself and show empathy for the person you're talking to. There's so much emotions tied to money. So remember that everyone has their own money story and narrative about money, and you can't expect another person to see things the way you do, especially with money, and especially not initially, the first time you talk about it. You have to exercise patience and continue to keep the conversation going. And if you can be consistent with that and be kind to yourself, you'll have better outcomes with the transparency and communication around money. Last sketch on the list before I go to the bonus one, going back to the beginning of the book, sketch number 2, it says more than what you do. Your money and work is the small circle, and then the bigger circle is life. And the very first sentence says, money and work have become the organizing forces in our lives. This sketch reminds us that money and work, yeah, they matter. They're part of our lives, but they're a small part of our life. Life isn't, or shouldn't, in my opinion, be defined solely by how we make money. Life is about how we live, who we spend time with, our passions, our mission, our goals, and all those experiences that we create along the way. And yes, we spend so much time working that I understand why it feels like it overpowers everything else, but we have to bring ourselves back down and have that perspective that it is a small part of our overall lives. So the point of the sketch isn't to dismiss money or work at all. It's to right size them. It's to put those things in their place. And I think what this does and tells us is that even if we're spending all this time talking about money, trying to build wealth, the ultimate goal is not these endless, meaningless dollars just to flex on everybody else and try to be a multimillionaire and billionaire because we want to show everyone else we're cool. It's focused on our lives and making our lives more meaningful and have better quality. As promised, let's show you the sketch that the author, Carl Richards, drew in my book. It says your gift, and then it points to another circle that is the world, encouraging and motivating me to share my gift with the world. Now, I'm sure this wasn't like a unique sketch just for me. I'm sure he cycled through a few, but actually when I was in line waiting for him to sign my book, the few people in front of me and the few people behind me had different sketches that he did. So even if he has just a few that he signs for people, I love this because it's so aligned with what I do. I feel like I have a knack for learning a lot of things, picking things up pretty quickly, but not just taking that information and like keeping it to myself, but sharing that with everyone else, which is why I have this YouTube channel. If you want a copy of this book yourself, I will definitely drop the link in the description. I think it's a great coffee table book or just a great inspirational book if you are on your financial journey and you're a visual learner like me. Until next time, peace out.